Vamos então, pessoal, dar continuidade ao nosso guia de The Raven no nosso canal Toalha Nerd. Lembrando que ele está gratuitamente na Plus. E outra coisa interessante, não apertem quadrado de forma alguma no jogo se vocês quiserem essa platina. Já expliquei os motivos no outro vídeo, então vamos continuar aqui. Examina a porta da bodega de carga, ou seja, do compartimento de carga, aperta X.
The stowaway surely didn't sleep well last night in the cargo hold, although his cell is probably more comfortable than my cabin, and more spacious.
De novo?
I have to talk to the young fellow right away. Even though he was already under arrest at the time of the shot, he may have noticed something before. If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. He won't let me talk to our young friend.
Beleza. Temos mais uma coisinha para examinar aqui. Material de jogo aqui.
I wonder if this game is an advanced version of bocce. Maybe the inventor realized that it's difficult to play ball games on a boat and came up with an alternative.
Beleza. E aqui nós examinamos tudo, se eu não me engano. Dá uma olhada no mar. Pode dar uma olhadinha no mar, não se esqueça também. Agora sim olhamos tudo. Vamos voltar então. Vamos voltar, vamos entrar de volta para dentro do navio ali. Vamos descer as escadas. Estamos no barco. Vamos descer essas escadas. Vamos examinar aqui o alarme. Primeiro o alarme. Examinar o alarme.
An alarm like this one was set off yesterday. This one hasn't been set off. The security seal is intact.
Examina também o corredor, o passivo.
I'm not paying for this trip, and that's a fair price for my cabin. It's rather plain, shall we say.
Temos que também examinar o quadro de avisos aqui.
An evacuation plan? And some tips from the doctor for avoiding seasickness, sunburn and the like. And here, a schedule of activities. A drink with the captain, a real barrel of fun.
Beleza. Aqui é o centro médico, examinar a maqueta.
A model of the Lydia before it was rebuilt.
Modelo.
It used to be a freighter. The wide hallways, the cabins and the...
Beleza. Calma, temos a planta aqui, ó. A planta, vamos lá.
A pitiful attempt to make the interior of the ship seem less... A bit of paint on the walls would have helped more, especially since a plant wants...
Examina a planta de novo.
There are little stones in the flower pot.
Vamos pegar algumas pedras ali.
Not only does the poor plant have to make do without sunlight, it doesn't have any soil either.
Vamos lá, vamos pegar algumas pedras.
What am I supposed to do with stones?
Vamos pegar, vamos pegar. Não interessa, vamos pegar.
Although, sooner or later.
Isso aí, em breve talvez a gente use. Agora, não, calma. Não é que ainda. Aqui, ó. Examinar a porta do camarote do Legrande. Depois nós vamos entrar na cabine do Legrande. Espera, a gente entra.
Come in. Ah, Zellner, are you ready?
Good morning, Inspector Legrand. My head is pounding, but I think I'm okay.
Chloral hydrate.
Hmm?
That's why you have a headache. I found traces of it in your champagne glass.
Eita, nós envenenaram nós mesmo. Circunstâncias do crime,
What
pergunta.
have you found out so far?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We heard the shot. The murderer quickly fled the cabin and dropped the murder weapon over the railing later. A simple story so far.
But why was her cabin door locked?
Exactly. If the murderer wanted to make it seem like a suicide, he'd have shot her in the head and left the gun at the crime scene.
And if it was murder, why did he go to all the trouble of locking the door from inside? And how did he manage that anyway?
Especially since we arrived just a few seconds later and didn't see anyone near the cabin.
Something doesn't make sense here.
No, it doesn't, and it's driving me crazy.
Verdade. Agora a gente vai perguntar sobre... Calma, deixa eu ver... A arma do
Did you
assassinato.
find the murder weapon?
On the gangway on the side of the ship. I suspect the murderer tried to drop it into the sea. He would have stood close to the railing to let it fall unseen.
And since he doesn't know the ship, he had bad luck and dropped it right onto the gangway.
Indeed. And do you find that probable?
Not a bit.
Neither do I.
Vamos perguntar o tipo de arma.
What kind of a gun is it?
A pistol, a Luger 08.
Antique.
Manufactured a million times during and after the First World War. Austrian model. The owner is David Kreutzer, the violinist. We found him tonight totally drunk on the bow of the ship. He confirmed that it's his gun, but he claims that it was stolen from him.
Fingerprints?
Nothing. But it's worth mentioning that the clip was missing 2 bullets.
And it's definitely the murder weapon.
The ballistic tests are incomplete. Actually, I've been waiting far too long for the bullet recovered from the corpse. Pay the good doctor a visit, Zellner, and see that he does his job.
Vamos perguntar sobre o
Do you
violinista.
believe the violinist?
He'll be the first person I question. He claims he can't remember anything from the last few hours. Says he drank a bottle of schnapps.
He was on the train and he doesn't have an alibi. His drunkenness could be a smokescreen.
He fits the profile. He travels a lot, has access to high society. Could be interesting.
Vamos perguntar sobre drogas.
And this chloral hydrate?
Is a tranquilizer. Can be dissolved in alcohol. The effect begins in minutes and lasts for hours. Who gave you the glass of champagne?
Vamos lá, então. Não tenho certeza. Primeira opção. É essa opção que você tem que botar, beleza? A gente sabe que foi o capitão que deu champanhe pra nós, mas não sabemos também que se foi o capitão ou não que envenenou, mas então a gente vai dizer que a gente não tem certeza.
I think it was the captain. But he could have got the glass from someone else.
Find out.
Understood.
Agora a gente vai... Ladrão de joias, assassino, primeira opção.
You think that the jewel thief is the murderer?
Our friend would have needed another key to open the safe and steal the second eye, the one the Baroness was carrying. At least, that's what we implied.
What do you mean?
The Baroness was famous for her forgetfulness. I convinced her to give me the third key. It seemed safer for the eye.
The thief searches the Baroness's cabin looking for the third key,
She returns from the saloon earlier than expected.
surprises him, and he can't allow her to identify him.
He imprisons her until the coast is clear, and then shoots her.
And thus, the thief becomes a murderer.
But still doesn't have all the keys.
Vamos perguntar então sobre a caixa forte.
Are you sure that there's no bomb inside this time?
Professor Lucien locked it in front of an audience, and it will be opened for the first time in Cairo.
Let's hope so.
It would take hours to crack it, and you'd need heavy machinery.
Or the keys.
Or the 3 keys.
O Corvo, o ladrão de joias.
Do you really think that the Raven is behind all this?
He wrote the letter that was on the safe in the train. Without the letter, we wouldn't have opened the safe, and the bomb wouldn't have exploded.
But it doesn't seem like him, does it? The Raven was famous in part because he never hurt anyone, much less killed anyone.
It's his handwriting, and he called me Nico. No one else does that. I chased that man across Europe for years. It is him. It has to be him.
But the evidence...
Enough.
I'll be on my way. I want to find out who gave me the drugged champagne.
Good idea.
Of course. Inspector Legrand, are you okay? Maybe you should take a break.
I can sleep once I've caught the Raven. Goodbye, Constable.
Be seeing you.
Beleza. Vamos sair. Falar agora com o médico.
Legrand is risking not just his career, but his health as well on his hunt for the Raven.
Vamos entrar lá. No centro médico.
Come in.
Hello, Dr. Gebhardt.
And there's the next one.
Excuse me? I'm afraid I do.
What a first day at work. Well,
Vamos começar com a análise do cadáver.
What's the result of your examination of the victim?
she's dead.
I didn't make you work all night long, Dr. Gebhardt.
She was shot. Point blank shot. Probably with a pistol. It seems like she was lying in bed. The shot struck her heart. She died immediately.
One shot?
More were unnecessary. And we only heard one shot, no?
And there's just one entrance wound.
Just one.
Vamos perguntar então sobre substâncias que podem nos nocautear.
I am told that I was drugged.
That's how it seems.
What can you tell me about it?
Me? Why should that be my business?
Haven't you analyzed the glass?
No, I haven't. The inspector said he's the better chemist. I let him do it. That way I could at least concentrate on the body.
E a baronesa foi drogada?
Do you think the Baroness might have been drugged? She was very tired and unsteady when Legrand and I saw her.
And without having seen her myself, it is hard to make a diagnosis.
Of course. Can you say something about her general health?
She was quite overweight, and the butler said that she suffered from diabetes. Despite that, she hadn't visited a doctor for several years.
Doesn't sound good.
Happens more frequently than you might suppose. Some people are scared of doctors and pay with an early death. It is possible that the Baroness wouldn't have lived much longer anyway.
Vamos então. E o copo que eu bebi?
Do you know whose glass I drank from?
What do you mean?
Captain de Conti handed me a glass of champagne. But where did he get it?
Did you ask him?
I'm just asking because you were also in the saloon when the champagne was served.
Yes, but I only entered the saloon a few seconds before you did. I didn't manage to get a drink myself.
Which, in retrospect, is lucky.
Ah, you're right about that.
E a
Have
bala?
you already removed the bullet?
Did Legrand send you? What is that Frenchman's problem? I already told you. I will get in touch as soon as I have it. That is also what I told the constable, who he kept sending all night long, once I finally got rid of Legrand himself.
Did he look over your shoulder?
He probably wanted to take the scalpel from my hand and hack away himself. But this is my surgery, and I will not let amateurs interfere with my work.
That's understandable. How much longer will it take?
I have just finished. Send my regards to His Majesty.
Thanks. I think that's it for now.
No. That is it for now, then, and later. I'm going to lie down for a few hours. Can you tell that to your boss?
But
Fomos expulsos.
could I at least have the key?
Absolutely not.
But if we have to examine the victim again...
Then the esteemed inspector knows where to find me. In my cabin. Good night, Constable Zell.
Beleza, vamos subir as escadas novamente. Vamos entrar aqui no salão. Examinar aqui o balde de gelo. Tá vendo ali embaixo ali, ó? Opa, sumiu. Parece.
The alcoholic drinks and everything that goes with them is top-notch on this ship.
Então abre o balde de gelo agora.
Fresh ice and tongs. They could be useful.
Constable Zelda, what is the meaning of this? Are even the police light-fingered nowadays?
I need this tool for a criminal investigation.
Well then, why didn't you say so? So, how are you getting along? Can I be of any help?
Actually, you could answer a few questions.
Acontecimentos de ontem à noite.
What was your experience of last night?
Oh, terrible. Dinner was fantastic. Everyone was excited about having a pleasant drink under the stars.
You were in the saloon all night long.
As the captain, I have to care for my passengers. After you and the others rushed out, I tried to maintain a festive atmosphere. But when the alarm goes off, I lose the battle.
A gente vai perguntar sobre a baronesa.
How was the Baroness?
She really surprised me. After she was so unapproachable at the reception and didn't show her face for the entire afternoon, but then she arrived in the early evening in the best of moods. Already had a few, if you know what I mean.
Did she say anything to you?
She asked me where Legrand's cabin was. I told her, then invited her to come for drinks in the evening. The whole ship will be there, and you don't want to miss that, I told her.
And then?
She seemed to like the idea. She smiled and then left again for a few minutes. Then she came back and seemed very happy. We drank a toast to life.
Baronesa estava cansada.
But at some point she didn't feel well anymore?
She overdid it a bit. She suddenly started to swoon and almost spilled her drink. I asked her if she wanted to rest for a moment in her cabin, but then she realized that she really did need to lie down. We left together. You know the rest of the story.
Champanhe estava envenenado.
Did everyone drink from the same bottle of champagne last night?
There was more than one bottle, if that's what you mean. There were quite a few guests, and the event lasted several hours.
The last bottle of champagne, the one the Baroness drank from, did anyone else drink from it?
Certainly.
We have reason to believe that the champagne was drugged.
Incredible. But wouldn't that have made everyone drowsy?
Not if it was only the Baroness's glass that was drugged.
I see. That's possible. On a night like that, many glasses are filled and emptied. There are several stewards, many guests. No one keeps track of every glass and every bottle.
A few drops in a glass?
Yes, it's certainly possible.
E meu copo, primeira
The
opção.
glass you handed me last night, where did you get it?
Ah, I understand. You think your glass was poisoned as well?
Did you pour it yourself?
No. I saw that you weren't doing so well and wanted to rescue the situation. I took the first available glass and I give it to you.
Was it on the table?
No, I hurry over to you, together with Dr. Gebhardt, who... Of course, he had the glass in his hand. He was looking around for a place to set it down, so that he could examine you. I took it from him.
And gave it to me?
I'd like to apologize for that, but you look so worse for the wear, and I just wanted to comfort you. I didn't think of looking for a new glass for you.
So the doctor had the drugged glass in his hand.
Vamos perguntar sobre o alarme.
Is it possible to find out where the alarm was set off?
I'm afraid not. There are alarms all over the ship.
I saw that they're sealed. Can't we just check whether the seal is broken?
I'm afraid they're gonna be missing on a lot of alarms. You know, this is an old ship, and over the years...
So, you're saying that the alarms haven't been regularly maintained?
I'll inform the crew immediately, of course.
Of course.
Vamos perguntar agora sobre os
What
passageiros.
can you tell me about the passengers?
Oh, not that much, I'm afraid. I wanted to get to know them properly at the reception. In most cases, I just shook hands with them as they boarded the ship. There are a few regulars on board, and after dinner, I had a conversation with Mr. Kreutzer, a talented violinist, and Lady Westmacott. But you already know them from the train.
It seems like there aren't that many passengers on board.
These bloody airplanes are making our lives miserable. Can you imagine? Grown men prefer to jam themselves into a narrow metal coffins instead of enjoying the fresh sea air on a ship.
It's all about saving time.
It shouldn't be about how much time it takes to get from A to B, but about how you spend that time.
I'll get back to my investigations now.
Ciao, Constable.
Beleza, vamos falar então com a Lady.
Lady Westmacott seems to be an early bird, but maybe that's just because of all the excitement. I saw a twinkle in her eye on the train. She's eager to be part of a real detective story.
Agora fale com ela.
Lady Westmacott, already on your... Oh,
Constable, don't you think before you speak?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No time for chit-chat. What have you found out?
We're still working on the case. Actually, I have a couple of questions for you.
Please, go ahead.
Vamos comentar sobre a aventura no trem.
What did you think of our adventure on the train? An extraordinary story, isn't it?
I'm glad that you were able to prove yourself, Mr. Zellner. I'm glad that everything ended well. I want to thank you sincerely for taking care of Matthew. I can't bear to think about something happening to him.
It all worked out in the end.
Vamos perguntar sobre o ladrão de
Do you
joias.
think that the thief from the train and the murderer are the same person?
I think the new Raven is capable of anything.
Legrand believes there is no new Raven. He thinks that the old one has returned.
He said that.
Do you think it's possible? Everyone thinks he's dead.
As a dramatist, the return of the Raven would certainly be delightful. A legend comes back from the grave for one last job. It's at the same time, though, I'd be disappointed.
Why is that?
I followed the Raven's career closely. There weren't many burglars with such character and charm. His burglaries were clever and entertaining, but he was sloppy in London. He almost got caught, and I'll never forgive him for the affair on the train. No, I would much rather that the Raven stayed dead and had nothing to do with the burglary or the murder.
E quem é o suspeito? A primeira opção.
What do you think? Who is our suspect?
Everyone, or almost everyone. Everyone on board is physically capable of shooting someone, but who has the dark desire to take the life of a defenseless person?
One cannot read minds.
And one should not try. You have to collect evidence, traces, clues. That's what will lead us to the killer. It won't be like a bad crime novel, in which they introduce a new character shortly before the end who, surprise, surprise, is also the murderer.
Murderers leave evidence. They're nervous or unnaturally relaxed. They have to adjust constantly.
And because of that, they make mistakes. This is your chance, Constable. If you find the mistake, you'll find your murderer.
Vamos perguntar sobre o assassinato da
Have
baronesa.
you noticed anything related to the murder?
Unfortunately not. I was already in my cabin and missed all the commotion.
You're telling me.
Oh, you're still young. At my age, you have to expect that you won't experience much anymore. And although I've written about murder so many times, I've never actually witnessed one.
I doubt everyone is so relaxed in such a situation.
Heartless is the word you're searching for, right, Constable? I certainly didn't want the Baroness to be murdered, but if I can't undo it, then I might as well enjoy it.
Inspetor Legrand.
What do you think of Inspector Legrand?
He seems to be as skilled as everyone says. Intelligent, focused. I had a chat with him yesterday, and he impressed me, but there's something haunted in his eyes.
I don't think he ever really stopped hunting the Raven.
Catching the Raven made him famous. What if he actually shot the wrong person? Unjustified fame bothers people, the good ones at least.
And you think he's one of the good ones?
Anyone who tries so hard to tear down his own memorial must be honorable. Or insane.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course.
Beleza, vamos voltar lá onde o Legrand está. Descendo aqui de novo.
Come in. Constable?
Vamos perguntar sobre a bala.
About the bullet. Here it is.
Excellent. Give it to me. As I suspected, a 7.65 Parabellum Luger.
Don't you want to examine it in more detail?
When I have time. For now, though, we can assume that we had the murder weapon. There can't be too many antique Luger 08 pistols on board.
May I take a look at the Baroness's cabin?
We already searched it thoroughly.
Sure. But what about now, by daylight?
Yes, fine, it can't hurt. Here, take this with you.
Thanks. I'll let you know if I find anything important.
But only then, please. I'm very busy.
Of course.
Vamos perguntar sobre o tranquilizante.
About the tranquilizer.
Who gave you the glass of champagne?
It was Captain de Conti.
You're sure?
He doesn't deny it, but he also says that the glasses passed through many hands that night and that everyone had access to the champagne.
So it could have been anyone.
Maybe the question isn't who put the poison in the glass, but rather who it was they wanted to poison.
Smart. And who were they trying to poison?
Dr. Gebhardt? The captain got the glass from him.
An unconscious ship's doctor. That sounds like it would be more use to a murderer than a drugged constable.
You think so? Did the murderer have reason to assume that his shot might not kill the victim immediately and that Dr. Gebhardt would be able to save her?
You're right. That's improbable. My ego is just searching for reasons for them to want to kill her and not me. Good job, Zellner.
I'll be in touch if I uncover more clues.
Very well.
Beleza, nós vamos direto pro quarto da baronesa. É aqui mesmo. Rompe.
This is the first murder scene I've ever set foot in.
Assim que você entrar, pessoal, já faz um save manual, salve o jogo, porque aqui nós temos um troféu que a gente pode perder se a gente cometer algum erro. Além de perder esse troféu, ainda ia perder outro no final do capítulo, beleza? Então, vamos primeiro guardar a partida aqui antes de nós continuar fazendo qualquer coisa, porque vocês podem apertar em alguma coisa sem querer, vocês têm que fazer na mesma ordem que eu acionar aqui, beleza? Não apertem nada, só tem muita coisa para examinar, então faça na mesma ordem que eu, para vocês não perderem o troféu. Vamos começar com aqui, ó. Examinar o manequim.
The mannequin surely came with the cabin. A mannequin for the Baroness's clothes would have a more generous figure.
Beleza. Deixa eu ver aqui mais que nós temos que examinar. Acho que é lá no teto. Examine a porta lá do teto, tá vendo? Olha lá, ó, botei lá em cima lá, ó. Aqui embaixo o que é? Não, é lá em cima.
There should be a ventilation shaft behind the hatch. Usually a good way to break in and out undetected. But we're on a ship. The ventilation shafts are very small here.
Examine de novo lá em cima. Ó, tá lá em cima lá, tá vendo?
I can't say why, and it seems impossible, but something tells me that the murderer entered and left the cabin through the door. The only question is how.
Beleza. Vamos examinar mais coisas aqui. Deixa eu ver. Nada aqui. Calma. Não olha aqui. Não. Deixa aqui no canto, deixa eu ver. O armário. O jarro, não. Bloco de notas. Armário portátil. Não é o quadro. Calma. Armário. Alarme. Candelabro, não. Abandonar o camarote também não. Ah, acho que é aqui, ó. Vira de volta. A câmera não tá me ajudando. Vira mais um pouquinho, vamos. Aqui, é isso aqui, ó. Examinar a equipagem, que seria a bagagem. Vamos lá.
Apparently, the Baroness didn't have time to unpack her bags. Or rather, didn't have time to tell her butler to unpack them for her.
De novo.
Sifting through all that would take ages. But here, the Baroness's handbag. Aha! A small leather-bound book. 1964 is engraved on it. This must be the Baroness's diary.
Beleza. Agora a gente vai examinar o diário. Cadê? A câmera não tá ajudando. Ler o diário. Aqui mesmo. Vamos lá.
Let's see. Yes, it's a diary, all right. Difficult to read. No entry from yesterday. A brief, sober description of what she's done recently. Met Morris, arranged benefit concert for renovation of Louvre Southeastern Wing, Times photo shoot for Eye of Sphinx. BM, poor excuse for photographer, too fidgety. And so on. This entry looks strange. The handwriting is shaky, difficult to read. Dreamt of Bobby. Yesterday would have been his birthday. Next week, Jay's.
Beleza. Calma aí. Temos mais coisas para olhar aqui no cantinho. Só arrumar ele de novo. Registrar, não, é revistar a bolsa aqui.
Cosmetics, a handkerchief, a spectacles case.
Agora nós vamos examinar o
The
diário.
Baroness was a very busy woman, and it looks like she had to cope with loss. She writes about Bubby and Jay. Neither seem to be alive anymore. Almost every family lost loved ones in the war. Maybe hers as well.
Beleza. Deixa eu ver mais aqui. Temos mais coisas para olhar aqui. Calma aí. Deixa eu ver se aqui. Acho que é aqui. Bloco de notas. Examine o bloco de notas.
The notepad has the ship's emblem on it. I suppose all the first-class cabins have them.
Agora segura o X. Beleza. E vai mudando aqui, ó. Até você conseguir o que tá escrito aqui. Beleza? Vai limpando bonitinho. É meio ruinzinho, mas você vai conseguindo. Acho que já dá pra ler, né? Ainda não. Acho que agora deu. Parou sozinho.
It says, Inspector, be in the saloon at 10 p.m. There is a murderer on board and I will expose him. B. The Baroness seems to have known the murderer, and that means that the Raven can't be the murderer. He never killed anybody. Legrand probably never got the message, otherwise he'd have said something.
Vamos aqui, temos que examinar mais coisas, começando pelo aquele quadro grandão ali agora. Vamos lá. Examina o quadro.
Sunflowers. By Van Gogh, I presume. He liked to paint that sort of thing. Can't be an original. They cost thousands of francs.
Vamos examinar agora esse armário.
A tape recorder. Must go with the built-in speakers. Probably part of the cabin's furnishings.
Examinar a
The
gravadora.
tape recorder is older than the hills, but it was once very expensive. Top of the range. And it doesn't come cheap.
Vamos examinar a gravadora novamente.
Strange. There's only one reel. And it's the wrong one. No. No sign of the original reel.
Vamos examinar a bobina de cinta, que seria fosse uma fita de
A
áudio.
reel made by Zeibling. I know the brand. Zeibling's tapes can be overwritten many times without losing quality. They're used in offices so that executives can record messages for the secretaries on the same tape over and over again. But they're not good for much else. They're robust, but they don't offer much in terms of sound quality.
Então vamos pegar a bobina, a fita de áudio. Beleza, pegamos. Temos mais coisas para examinar aqui, calma. Armário portátil não é. Vamos examinar o jarro aqui.
A big, ugly, and impractical vase. If it had a wider opening, one could at least use it as an umbrella stand.
De novo.
Can't see anything. Wow, heavier than it looks. Aha!
Beleza. Ô, droga. Cadê ele? Volta pro jarro.
Why were the down feathers tossed in the vase? Or is there anything else in there? There may be something else.
Beleza, o jarro já foi. Agora. Ux, agora mudou a câmera. Beleza. Vamos aqui, ó, no canto. Antes de mexer no chão. O fechadura e corrente, vamos lá.
The door frame was damaged when Dr. Gebhardt kicked it in. The real question is, why was the door locked in the first place?
De novo.
Assuming the murderer isn't a magician, and the Baroness locked the door herself before she went to bed, the murderer couldn't have left the cabin through the door. So, the murderer must have still been in here when Dr. Gebhardt kicked the door in. which is unlikely because someone would have seen him, or he found another way out of the cabin.
Agora nós vamos examinar o alarme. Cadê o alarme? Lá no cantinho lá. Chegar mais perto. Alarme.
Another alarm. It was tripped at some point. The seal is broken. But there's no way of telling whether it happened yesterday or 5 years ago.
Beleza, vamos examinar o armário portátil.
The most unportable portmanteau I've ever seen.
De novo. Vamos examinar de
A
novo.
portable bar is more like it. Must be hard work transporting this big, heavy thing halfway around the globe. And the Baroness was lucky that the other freight cars were only lightly damaged by the explosion.
Mais uma vez no
An
armário.
impressive piece.
Beleza. Volta aqui. Vamos usar aqui também.
The portholes face the side deck. If someone climbed out of the cabin through a porthole, Legrand and I would have seen them.
Beleza, de novo.
The portholes are locked. It's the same and the Baroness.
Ok. Calma. Temos mais umas coisinhas aqui. Deixa eu ver. Vamos então pegar o diário.
I'll leave it there. I don't have time to read it.
Só para ele falar essa frase, beleza. Agora nós temos que, não embaixo da cama, nós temos que examinar a cama, pessoal, beleza? A cama, não embaixo da cama ainda. E também não é a mancha de sangue, é primeiro a cama. Examinar a cama, tá vendo?
There's still blood on the mattress. The sheet and the blanket have already been removed. To analyze them, I suppose.
Vamos procurar sobre a cama agora.
Nothing.
Examina a mancha de sangue.
The blood spot is the only sign that someone committed a crime in here. Somehow... That's odd. The blood is so... red. Shouldn't it gradually darken in the air? Turn brown?
Beleza, examina de novo a mancha de sangue.
The unusual color of the blood could be something that Legrand and Dr. Gebhardt missed last night. All cats are gray in the dark, as the saying goes. I should take a sample. The unusual all cat.
Tá, beleza. Fechou. Vamos pra cá. Agora sim você pode dar uma olhada embaixo da cama. Deixa eu só ver, confirmar aqui. Não examine isso aqui ainda, calma. Ali vai encerrar. Embaixo da cama.
Something's under there. Down feathers. Maybe from a quilt or a pillow. Nothing special. Although, it seems like one of the feathers was scorched at the top. Literally burnt. I'll take it with me.
Ok. Agora a gente vai examinar de novo o jarro.
There may be something else in...
Beleza, já examinamos tudo. Quando ele falar essa palavra aqui, você não precisa examinar mais o jarro. Nós temos que abrir o inventário e botar a nossa pinça aqui, ó. Cubinho de gelo. Vamos lá. E usa as pinças no jarro.
Good work. There's something in there. Someone stuffed this in the vase. Looks like it's been used to muffle a gunshot. If this isn't an important discovery, I don't know what is. Legrand, here I come.
Beleza, agora a gente finalmente pode pegar um negócio no chão. Assim que a tela nos ajudar de novo. Tá ali, ó. Examinar as plumas ali no chão. Penas.
More feathers, and they're singed as well. I'd better take it with me.
Beleza, se você fez tudo corretamente, pessoal, agora, exatamente agora, o meu troféu desbloquear o Crime Scene Investigator, beleza? Se vocês fizeram tudo corretamente nessa ordem, não é exatamente nessa ordem, você pode mudar um pouquinho as ordens, mas vocês têm que investigar tudo mais ou menos nessa ordem, então eu recomendo você seguir o guia certinho para desbloquear esse troféu. Se você desbloqueou o troféu, fez tudo certo. Se você não desbloqueou, volte à sua gravação e siga o vídeo novamente desde o começo da investigação aqui dentro do quarto da baronesa. E a tela parece que pifou de novo. Vamos examinar aqui para ver se muda.
The unusual.
Beleza, mudou. Podemos sair agora daqui. Vamos então falar com o James, que agora provavelmente está desempregado. Tá aqui ele.
The Baroness's butler looks like he didn't get much sleep. I would describe his facial expression as worried. Hello, Mr. Inch.
Oh, Constable, hello.
You look the worse for wear. It must be terrible for you.
Quite terrible. No one will hire me now.
Excuse me?
My mistress was murdered. Would you hire a butler who's been mixed up in a murder?
But if it turns out that you're not guilty...
If. But what if not? Who else would they blame? There are no gardeners on this ship.
I understand your problem. Under these circumstances, I'm sure you'd answer some questions that could help clear your name, wouldn't you?
Of course.
Vamos perguntar então de ontem à noite.
Did you notice anything suspicious last night?
No, sir. After the Baroness went to the saloon, I went to the forecastle. I was there until the alarm went off. I went to the side deck and arrived shortly after Professor Lucien and Miss Miller. We found you and Inspector Legrand there. You were unconscious, and the inspector asked us to take care of you.
Vamos perguntar sobre o tiro, o disparo.
Did you hear the gunshot?
No, just the alarm, sir.
Tempo livre.
You said you were on the forecastle. It sounded like the Baroness let you have the rest of the night off.
Not entirely, sir. One of the crew informed me that the Baroness wanted to be roused at 9:45.
Right. Why was that?
I suppose that she wanted to toast the success of the journey with the...
She hadn't intended to take a nap then.
That was not her way, sir. She had a lot of spirit, shall we say, when it came to social engagements and a glass or two of champagne.
Vamos perguntar então sobre o camarote
The
saqueado.
Baroness's cabin seems to have been ransacked.
Indeed, sir, by the Baroness herself.
Really?
She was searching for something the entire afternoon.
And did she find it?
I think she did, sir, yes. She was in high spirits when she finally left her cabin.
You wouldn't happen to know what she was looking for, would you?
I'm afraid not.
Perguntar sobre uma mulher organizada.
Would you describe the Baroness as orderly?
Well, she always had a lot of responsibilities, sir.
That doesn't answer my question.
She used to take a lot of luggage on journeys, and I helped her keep track of it as best I could.
What about the photos and the documents I saw in her cabin?
I really don't know. They were out of bounds to me, sir. Memories from the war, I'd say. They meant a lot to her.
Vamos perguntar sobre o consumo de álcool da
The
baronesa.
Baroness seemed to be pretty drunk the last time I saw her.
Is that so?
Does that surprise you? Did the Baroness not drink?
Oh, yes, she drank. It
I understand. How serious was her habit?
serious enough, sir.
Was she under any medical supervision?
Certainly not, sir. She adamantly refused to see a doctor. Like so many elderly women, she had a distinct aversion to hospitals and the like.
Trabalhar para a
How
baronesa.
long had you worked for the Baroness?
6 months, sir.
Only 6 months. I always thought that butlers stayed with their employers for decades.
Those decades have to start at some point, Constable. Her former butler wasn't able to fulfill his duties any longer. Gout, sir.
I understand.
I took on his duties and hoped for a secure position for the next 20 years.
Braço rígido.
May I ask what happened to your arm?
A souvenir from the war, sir.
Doesn't it hinder your work?
Yes, sir. Obviously.
I didn't mean to offend you.
The Baroness had a soft spot for disabled veterans. I think she'd been through a lot herself.
I think that's all for now.
Please, sir, find the murderer. You have to clear me of all suspicion.
Vamos descer as escadas. Vamos falar com Legrand.
A singed pillowcase is proof that there must have been a second gunshot. Inspector?
Can't you knock?
I didn't realize. I'm
not getting anywhere. I'm going to question each passenger individually. Anyone without an airtight alibi will be checked for gunshot residue.
But, Inspector...
People trip up when you put pressure on them, Constable Zellner. The Raven is nervous. He's changed his methodology and become a murderer. I'll see it in his eyes. After you.
But, Inspector Legrand... We have no proof that the Raven and the murderer are the same person.
You may not know it, but I do. I will catch him, with or without your help.
I don't believe it. What's gotten into him? Ah, well, it makes no sense to tell him about my theories if his opinion is already set. I also need his lab if I'm going to get anywhere. I need to get in there somehow. And I really need to talk to the stowaway. He may have information, and the inspector will just ignore him, since he's too young to be the Raven.
Vamos examinar então a porta aqui do Legrand, não do camarote, beleza? Opa! Aqui, ó.
Legrand locked the door.
Beleza, ele trancou a porta.
The lock isn't especially secure. If I had a wire or something like that, I could probably pick it.
Beleza. Vamos subir as escadas. Vamos entrar no salão.
Mr. Kreutzer, come on, you have to give me a bit more. You're the only one who was on the train and who has no alibi for last night.
As I said, I was in my cabin.
Are you sure that it was your cabin and not the Baroness's?
Legrand will question the guests, one after another. But if he doesn't get the answers that he wants to hear, it could become unpleasant for them.
Vamos chegar aqui, vamos olhar para o David Kreutzer. Só olhar.
Mr. Kreutzer clearly feels uneasy. But does Legrand actually think he's the Raven?
Agora, olhe para o Inspetor Legrand.
Legrand is absorbed in the interrogation. He still seems pretty annoyed. The violinist seems to be bearing the brunt of it.
Vamos falar com a Lady aqui.
Lady Westmacott, may I bother you for a moment?
By all means, Mr. Zellner.
Interrogatório.
How is the questioning going?
Are you implying that I'm an eavesdropper? The inspector is placing a lot of pressure on our dear Mr. Kreutzer. He's the only one who was on the train and who doesn't have an alibi for last night.
Perhaps. But him? A murderer?
I know people like him. He doesn't have enough backbone to kill someone in cold blood and remain so calm. He'd turn it into a drama and then a farce, drink himself insensible, and then, railing at fate, pitch himself into the sea. Forget him. Legrand is wasting his time. Mr. Kreutzer just happens to be a perfect fit for the inspector's image of the Raven.
Athletic, cultured, moves among the rich and famous?
I'll eat his violin if he's the Raven or the murderer.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course.
Beleza, vamos por aqui. Agora nós vamos olhar o café.
Excellent. Ah, that's just what I needed.
Beleza, depois do café vamos examinar. Cadê? Esse aqui, ó. Calienta os pratos.
English ham and eggs. One advantage on an international trip is the international breakfast. Many of my fellow countrymen think it's outrageous to eat fried bacon, sausages, or anything heavy for breakfast. I, on the other hand, think ham and eggs are the only worthwhile contribution the English have made to international cuisine.
Deixa eu ver. Acho que aqui acabou, né? Só temos o café. Vamos sair então daqui. Vamos sair pelo convés aqui. Não. Opa. Volta. Vamos pela esquerda. Olhe para a senhorita Myers tomando
No,
sol.
Jacob. Business before pleasure.
Olha de novo.
Miss Mayers seems to have found an opportunity to do nothing.
Vamos falar com
Hello,
ela.
Miss Mayers.
Hello, Mr.
Constable Zellner.
Banho de sol.
Do you think it's appropriate to go sunbathing in a situation like this?
What situation?
A woman was murdered last night.
If refusing to sunbathe could bring the dead back to life, I'd go back to my cabin immediately.
Vamos falar então dos acontecimentos.
Did you hear or see anything suspicious last night?
No, I didn't feel very well last night. I went to bed early.
So, you're feeling better this morning?
Thanks for asking.
Verdade dos pais dela.
I'm sure your parents are truly sorry that they can't be with you at this difficult time.
Maybe, but I'm not a little girl anymore. And thinking about my fiancé keeps me going.
You're engaged?
Yes, my boyfriend and I got engaged right before the trip. I want to surprise my parents, especially my dad.
I'm sure he'll be very surprised. But what will you do if your father doesn't agree to the engagement?
What choice does he have when he put me on this boat full of thieves and murderers in the first place?
Charming. Enjoy the sun, Miss Mayers, and don't let us disturb you.
If you're trying to make me feel guilty, Constable, it's not working.
Beleza. Olha aqui pro capitão. Só olhar.
Captain DeConti seems old and tired. The price you pay for a life like his, I suppose.
Podemos voltar. Vamos continuar indo nessa direção. Vamos atravessar aqui. não era pra subir essa escada, eu botei errado, mas a gente vai encerrar essa parte por aqui, pessoal. Deixa o likezinho, se inscreva aí e até a próxima. Tchau!